Hello, my friends. Welcome to the class. Tonight we are talking on the topic of finding home within your heart. I think so many of us are looking for that sense of home, or we have it, but maybe it's kind of fleeting, like we feel it at certain times, we feel it at certain places. But wouldn't it be wonderful if we took that sense of home with us wherever we went, right? So that is what we're going to focus on during tonight's class. Hi, my name is Dr. Asitar Bear. I do this class every week, usually with my co-teacher, Leah Schaefer, who adds a lot to the class, and it's a wonderful presence. She will be back next week. We will struggle on this week without her. Uh, so I put this question out there on Twitter. I asked my friends and comrades, what makes you feel at home? And I got some really interesting responses, right? Let me read a couple of them to you, all right? Here's what people said. Um, my cat. A lot of people talked about their pets. Interesting. How about this one? Stiff winds, the river, fields of sunflowers, bluegrass music. Nice, right? Um, Shared vocabulary and terminology. Uh, I need my people to know my shorthand. Isn't that interesting? Um, the smell of fresh cut grass and a thunderstorm following shortly after finishing the mowing. Really takes you there, doesn't it? Um, how about this one? My big chair, my two cats, a good book, some good weed, and coffee, and I'm right as rain. Rain and memories. A lot of people mention rain, interestingly enough. Interesting. Books, a journal to write in, um, watching whatever series I'm into on the back screened-in porch while it's nighttime with a nice glass of whiskey and a cigar. All right, that sounds good. Um, Quitting my shitty job. That gives you a sense of home. I feel you. My wife and animals. Mm. Psychedelics and educational TV during a mild thunderstorm. Uh, Flaky baked goods. uh, Music. A couple of people mentioned the smell of cedar or the smell of steel. Interesting, right? Um, so, there's all of these very powerful sensory memories. There's sensation that make us feel at home, right? Like something that makes us feel safe, perhaps, comfortable, um, something that connects us to a time when we felt deeply at peace, um, or very secure, or that everything was right in the world, right? And this is very, very powerful, because look, here's the reality of our world, right? The reality of our world is capitalism gives us opportunity to some, right? It's opportunity that not everyone can take advantage of, but it's opportunity, right? But it doesn't give us much sense of safety, you know, because we all know on some level, look, we're one paycheck away or whatever, right? I mean, like, how many of us could lose our job and not have our lives fall apart, right? Not many of us, right? Unless you're rich, you don't have much safety in this world. And so we're all kind of missing that, right? On some deep level, we're like, home, safety, security, right? These are concepts, these are feelings which are, hard to separate, right? So we all, or not we all, but 99% of us, right, lack that on a kind of basic life in the world material way, right? Um, and that's a situation which needs to change, right? That's not an acceptable situation for humanity, but it is what we've got, right? So how do we make the best of that moving forward, right? How do we do the best that we can given our constraints in this world? Um, that's what I want to focus on using meditation, right? Meditation is a tool for changing your inner world. Um, it's not the best for changing the outer world. Let's be honest, right? For changing the outer world, outer action is good, right? And we don't want to neglect that, right? We don't want to say that what we do internally is the only thing that matters. Not at all, right? But what we do internally has a bigger impact than we might think, right? Because a lot of times when we go out into the world, we are in our own way, right? We are the ones who are the obstacle, or at least we're creating unnecessary obstacles through our own doubts and fears and unrealistic hopes and expectations and all of this, right? If we can clear that out, if we can find clarity within, and if we can get the feeling that we're often looking for outside, right? Looking for a feeling state outside of ourselves is folly, you know? It just is. Sometimes it works out, and that's great. But is it going to be reliable, like when we want that feeling, right? Like you can get it from what people were saying in some of those comments, right? You can feel it. Can we get that? I mean, is it always going to be raining? Are we always going to have the smell of cedar? Are we always going to have our cats with us or whatever it is? No, of course not, right? But you know what we always want and we always need is we always need that inner peace, right? We always need that sense that we're safe, that we're supported, that no matter what happens, we are here, right? That we need, right? And that outer things can add to that, of course, right? Outer things can drive that, home, so to speak, right? In a very powerful way. But if we don't have that feeling, no outer thing is going to do it for us, right? So, we want to respect that, right? Like search within for the inner things, right? The things that you need from outside, well, okay, search for those outside, that's gonna be the best. All right. So let's do a meditation and we'll try to experience a little bit of this, that sense of home, right? That sense of peace and stability and security that you can take with you, right? Because it's inside your heart. All right, so we're going to do this. Let's take a good upright meditation posture. Try to sit in such a way that your spine is straight. It's good if your knees can be at the same level as your hips or maybe a little bit below. You want to be upright and yet relaxed. We don't want to have unnecessary tension in meditation, but we also don't want to flop down and get into like a low energy kind of state, right? We want to be high energy, but to not be using that energy, to direct that energy within ourselves and, use it to fuel our inner journey, right? So once you've gotten your posture down, come to rest within that posture. Now you begin to pay attention to your breath. And the first step is simply to know that you're breathing, to feel that you're breathing, to feel yourself breathing in and breathing out, to become conscious of the breath that is life, the breath that is energy, the breath that is yourself on a very deep level. And just notice that what a gift it is that your breath continues, whether you focus on it or not. The next breath comes. What a gift that is. And if you really tune into that, it might even give you a sense of that feeling of home. What if you could come home to the breath? What if you said to yourself, wow, each moment I am restored and revitalized and cleansed and made whole, because the breath is all of those things and more. Now we want to work with the breath. We would like to perfect the breath. So the first step is making the breath deep. That is abdominal breathing. So as you breathe in, your belly is expanding. And allow your belly to just relax and expand. You know, so much of the time we keep so much armor on our bellies. Let your belly be soft as you breathe in. Let your belly expand like a big balloon. Forget about the tight abs and the sculpted midsection and all that stuff. Just let your belly just relax and hang out there. It's a good feeling. Now I'd like you to place your hand on your belly and just feel, just to remind yourself, right, to feel your belly expanding as you breathe in and contracting as you breathe out. Every time I do this, I'm just reminded it's just so comforting somehow to breathe with your hand on your belly. Because where your hand goes, your attention goes. You put your hand on your belly and you breathe, you are aiding your awareness of your breath. And you're aiding in your awareness of your breath down deep in your body. And this is actually very powerful because this style of breathing, abdominal breathing, is associated with a part of your nervous system that is the parasympathetic nervous system. The part of your nervous system that is tuned to relaxation, to the slowing of your heart rate, to the lowering of your blood pressure, to a whole host of physiological responses. Some of them are hormonal, the production of the anti-stress hormones in your body and the suppression of the stress hormones. So breathing down in your belly just has a very powerful effect on your body and even on your mind. We'd like to go further with the breath, all right? We would like to go and also make the breath slower so that as you're breathing out, that out breath takes longer. And as you're breathing in, the in breath also takes longer. Slowing down the breath, slow, deep breathing. Now, one reason why it's so important to have this nice upright posture is that slow, deep breathing is also associated with sleep, right? So, and that's good. We need sleep, right? We need a certain amount of it. A lot of us are sleep deprived. But this is a time for going within. We don't want to fall asleep, right? So we need that uprightness to send the contrary signal to our nervous system because uprightness is associated with being awake, all right? So we're doing a very interesting thing physically right now, right? And mentally, we are, in some ways, we are creating a sleep response, but in other ways, we're creating a very awake and alive response, right? Because sitting upright, sitting with your spine straight, is a very awake, very alive posture. All right. So even though my voice is very soothing, I know that. We want that feeling of awakeness and vitality. Okay. Now we want to keep on with the breath, and we would like to make the breath powerful as well as slow and deep and all of this, right? So we make the breath powerful by engaging our abdominal muscles on the exhalation and really squeezing out all the breath as we breathe out. So feel like your belly button is compressing towards your spine, all right? It's going to take a fair amount of abdominal force to squeeze all the breath out, okay? And then as you inhale, you allow the breath to come in. You allow your belly to open and even allow your rib cage to expand and all of the intercostal muscles and so on. Bring the breath all the way up into your chest. All right. Now, it might be that half or even 2/3 of the breath occurs in your belly, but you want to complete that breath, really working on the fullness of the breath. Okay, so first the belly, then all the way, expanding all the way up to your collarbone. And then as you breathe out, contracting, 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 but in a slow, controlled fashion. All right. We don't want any gasping. We don't want any pauses in the breath. We don't want any interruptions in the breath. We want the breath to flow like a mighty river, but like a big, powerful river that moves along with a nice, even flow, right? Not one that's all jangly and, white water and all this stuff, right? But just a nice, smooth, even powerful volume of breath, all right? Now, we would also like to make the breath rhythmic and also make it heart-centered. Now, if you feel a little bit overwhelmed by all that I'm asking you to do, that's all right. This is a skill. It takes time to master. If you're not getting it right away, you just do what you can, right? And just know that whatever you're doing is good, right? Whatever you're doing right now is right for you. There's no there's no bad meditation here, right? You do as much as you can. If all you're doing is the very first thing I said, put your hand on your belly and breathe, perfectly fine, right? You will get a lot from just that, okay? So whatever you're doing is good. But for those of you who have been doing this longer, if you've been following the class, right, we want to continue with the development of the breath. Developing the breath is a journey. It's a road, right? And we can get better at breathing, right? We can breathe in an optimal fashion. Okay, that's what we're practicing here. So we want to add a focus on our hearts, right? So in Sufism's the tradition that I come from, and in Sufism, the heart is seen as the master energetic center, the master chakra, right? The center that holds the entire energetic body together. So that envelops all these other centers, right? So tune into your heart and feel that it's your heart right in your chest, right? That is bringing in energy as you breathe, right? Because breath is both air, that is the mundane part of the breath, right? That's the part that we're most immediately aware of. But breath is also energy. Breath is also life. And, that's the spirit part of the breath, right? So the air part, of course, you're breathing in through your nose, right? The air part is going to go in through your nose. But the spirit part, the energy part, goes wherever you focus on, okay? So focus on, imagine that it is your heart that is drawing in breath, and that it's your heart that is sending breath out, right? Because breath is energy, okay? So there's a receiving and there's a giving. Just like life, right? Life is giving and receiving. And we need to do both of those, right? So what we'd like to do is to make the breath balanced and rhythmic, okay? Same length inhalation, same length exhalation, all right? So, and a good way to do this is to focus on your heartbeat and breathe in tune with that heartbeat, okay? So now this is difficult. Some people have a hard time feeling their heartbeat. Some people can feel it right away. That varies, all right? So it might help to take your fingertips and just press them lightly on your breastbone and give you a sense of that pulse in your fingertips. All right. So try that out, okay? As you breathe in, same number of beats on the inhalation as the exhalation. Maybe you start with 4 beats in and 4 beats out. And maybe as your breath develops, you move to 6 beats in and 6 beats out, or maybe 8 or 10, etc. Right? You choose the rhythm that works for you. But remember, the basic idea is we want deep, slow, rhythmic, heart-centered, full breathing. Okay, Like I said, this takes some time to master. So do whatever part of it you can do, right? And just know that whatever part you can do, maybe you can do the whole thing, right? Whatever part you can do is perfect. Just like your spirit is perfect. Take a few breaths with me now. The breath is a study of a lifetime. You can watch your breath and learn so much about yourself. But we aren't just watching the breath here now, right? This watching the breath is a more passive kind of practice. We are really intervening in the breath. We're both watching it and intervening in it, right? Trying to change it. So, and the reason to do that is because since breath is energy, breath is life, if we change the breath, we also change our energy. We also change our life, right? On a very fundamental level. And we want to tune the breath in a particular way right now, right? And that is toward that sense of what is it that gives you that sense of home, that gives you that sense of peace, that sense of comfort, that sense of security, that sense that it'll all be all right, you know? Maybe it's a feeling of connection. Maybe it's a feeling of love, of being loved, of giving love, right? So just tune into that feeling as you breathe. As you breathe in, receive that sense of home. And notice that that feeling lives in your heart. It may be that an external thing triggers it and reminds you of it and makes you feel it in that way, right? But you know, you would never be able to experience it if it wasn't already within you. So all we're doing is now looking for that feeling, tuning into that feeling. Perhaps it helps to think of a time when you felt it. Think of a memory that gives you that feeling of home. I loved to read as a child, and I remember reading a book, and I would go and sit on the heater grate. We had this magnificent old Victorian home in Boston, and it had these big, beautiful heat vent things, grates, you know. And so I would, in the winter, I would sit against one of those and read a book. Whatever it is that gives you that sense, what is home? Receive that on your inhalation, and then on the exhalation, you be in that vibe, you inhabit that vibe, you send that out into the space around you. And it creates a vibration which then reflects, which then you exist in. We're doing this all the time, of course, whether we're conscious of it or not. You know, this is why we feel it, right? This is why somebody comes into a room and they feel the mood that is in that room, right? Like maybe you're upset, somebody walks in, they can feel that, right? Even without you saying a word, right? Or maybe you feel really good and people feel that as well, right? These energetic vibrations move out from our hearts and into the space around us. And they reflect back to us as well, right? We live in the vibration that we have co-created. We don't create it entirely alone, right? Because there's other forces at work, right? but we certainly co-created. We are one force which creates the vibration in which we live. So as you breathe in, you're receiving that vibration that is home, whatever that is to you. And as you breathe out, you are sending that vibration out into the space. All right, well, let's end our meditation there. You can move your body around. Come back to this reality. You know, we sometimes will overlook what kind of influence we have, right? We think, oh, like I'm just kind of, I'm reacting, right? Like you're in a reactive place, or like, oh, I feel this way because this happened, right? Or I don't feel safe because, well, I feel under threat, or I feel like I could lose my job, or I could lose my home, right? I mean, like, my God, right? This is the reality of our world. Um, so, we want to recognize that that's a reality, but we also want to recognize, look, we are co-creators of this reality. Like, it isn't just what happens to us, right? It's also about what are we sending out there. And we have maybe more power than we might recognize, right? So, and this is a basic exercise in that, right? As we work with the breath and we bring in energy into our hearts, right? Well, we are consciously bringing in the vibrations from outside, and then also, what are we tuning to, right? What are we tuning to within ourselves? So in this exercise, right, in this practice, we're tuning to that sense of home. Okay. So, are there other forces out there? Are there other feelings within us? Of course there are, right? I mean, like, come on, we're a kind of swirling, whirlwind of different experiences and memories and sensations and all this stuff, right? But we can, within that, right, we can tune in to a certain energy within that, okay? And we can also choose, well, what are we consciously putting out there into the world, into the space around us, right? And that's a very powerful moment to get to, right? Does it mean there's no other forces in the world? No, of course not, right? Don't be ridiculous. Right? Of course there are. But it just means we are now becoming conscious of our energetic influence on things. And that's amazing, right? Because we go from not being aware of that to being aware of that. Well, that's really something, right? It's like you don't know what you even have, right? Um, okay, I see I have a couple of comments here. Let's see. I have my friend Akbar Kadus is here. Good to see you, my friend. A men's group is meeting the second and fourth Tuesday. All right, well, good to know. Encourage them to come here after they finish. They're now switching to Thursday. All right, well, I'm glad to hear you all are getting together. That's very good, right? We need that. We need that camaraderie. We need that. Um, we need to meet together, right? That's another thing that gives us that sense of home, right? All right, here I have another comment here from Joseph H. Good to see you, my friend. A day permeated with a feeling of hostility for many of us. Sorry to hear that. Yeah, I mean, how many days are like that? I mean, let's get real, right? There's a lot of hostility out there in the world, right? We have created a very competitive kind of world here, right? Thanks for bringing some peace into that. Absolutely. I'm glad you could join us here. This is nice. We create this vibe together, right? There's a lot that we can do individually, by being conscious of our own energy, and also really working with it, right? Really intervening in it. Um, and this is why I put so much focus into really perfecting the breath, really working with the breath, because that makes your energy so much more powerful, right? You know, most of the time when we breathe, we're using only a tiny bit of our lung capacity, right? That's okay, right? I mean, we're given more capacity for a reason, right? What if we needed to run from a tiger or something like that, right? We need that extra lung capacity. But what if we could really take in a tremendously big, full breath, but do it in a very slow and controlled manner, right? Because if we take in too many big, full breaths, it's going to kind of go to our heads, right? Where it's going to mess with our blood CO2 levels and so on, right? So we don't want to breathe in this way that's going to cause us to get kind of crazy and lightheaded or whatever, right? By breathing slowly and fully, we have time to absorb the energy of the breath, to understand the energy of the breath, and to really turbocharge, right, our energy. And that's good, right? I mean, that gives us on an energetic level, right? That gives us much more to work with, you know. So if working with the breath is a struggle for you, then good, right? That means you're being honest. This is not easy, that retraining your breathing is, our breathing is habitual, it's about as difficult as retraining how you walk. You're going to forget, you're going to fall back on old habits. That's okay, right? Um, so, yeah. Um, the feeling of home and security and safety, um, the feeling that you have a position in the world, a seat in the world. Um, these are qualities which are associated with the root chakra. Okay, so the root chakra is the base of the chakra system. It is located right between the genitals and the anus, right on the body. That's the physical analog of it. Okay, but energetically, it is like, what is your foundation? And again, what is your seat, right? This is like the part of you that's in contact with, if you're sitting down, right? This is the part of you that is in contact with your seat, right? Your chair. So it gives you that foundation, and it's a sense of, home, security, stability, a place in the world. And again, your heart contains this. Your heart contains everything, you know. So we're tuning into that particular energy, right? And sometimes it's useful when you're tuning into a particular energy, you think about, well, what is it? And also, what is it not? What is it that makes you feel the opposite of that, right? Like Joseph mentioned, a feeling of hostility. Look, when people are hostile, it often makes us feel like, whoa, I don't have that sense of place, right? Sometimes people get a feeling of like, I want out of this, right? I don't want to be here. I want to be somewhere else, anywhere other than this, right? So, you know, that's an interesting response too, right? Whatever feelings or sensations, any of this is coming up in meditation, you want to think, look, that has value. I don't want to judge that or label that. I don't want to say, oh, that's negative. Oh, this is time for meditation and not to experience negativity. Um, no, look, when you tune into your heart, it's going to be positive. It's going to be negative. There's going to be all kinds of stuff. Um, it's good to adopt an attitude of like, whatever is here is an important experience for me. Whatever is here is part of the journey. Oh, I have another question here. Do you ever use music to get into your preferred meditation mode? Sure, sometimes. Yeah, yeah. Music can be very powerful, right? Because music has rhythm in it, right? Music has harmony in it, right? Music has a kind of a narrative or a flow in it. Um, and these things are very powerful. And music also has emotion in it, right? So this is a very powerful way to get into a particular state. Now, I've lots of experience with using sacred music in that way. Um, for me, it's pretty targeted, like I will say like, all right, I'm going to listen to this particular piece of music for this particular length of time. Like I won't just sort of play music willy-nilly, right? I mean, I'm like very selective about it, you know. I have to say, I don't do it very often. Most of the time when I meditate, it is silence, you know. But you know, it's definitely a tool, you know. You know, all these things are tools, right? So you know, doing a guided meditation or a, you know, a thing like this, right? That can help um, because you know you have somebody's voice, it gives you a kind of an anchor, right? Or you have a person's vibe. Again, it gives you a kind of a starting place. Um, oh, look at this. We have a comment from Leah Schaefer of all people. Um, nice to see you, sweetheart. Wonderful meditating and attuning with you. Meditation has become one of my experiences of home. How lovely. Wishing for peace to be present in everyone's heart home. Yeah. Um, well, glad you could join us. Nice to sit with you as always. You know, it can be so powerful. Like, you know, when you're just experiencing meditation, it's like something so new, right? Um, but when you get to the point that Leah's described so beautifully, right? Like that, wow, when I sit down and meditate, I feel like I've come home. I feel that sense of home. Wow, right? I mean, talk about something that now makes you want to meditate, right? And we need that, right? We need that sense of like going from, oh, I'm taking my medicine. Oh, I have to sit down now, and no. I've got so many other things to do, you know. Versus, oh my God, now I want to just come home, right? I want to open and relax and enjoy. You know, and I have to say, I find this a very relatable comment for me because, like, I find that too, right? I find, you know, for me, it's like a remembrance. You know, I sit down, I meditate, and I go, oh my God, how could I have forgotten about all this, right? But we do, right? We go through life, and life is so intoxicating. You know, we get caught up, and you know, we think, and we're always putting it outside ourselves, right? And forgetting the power and richness that we have within. You know, so it's a good opportunity, right? It's a good moment for us to say, let's understand what we really have here within ourselves. Right? So very powerful, you know, when you have that sense of home, maybe you see it in somebody that you know, right? Somebody who has that kind of inner knowing, you know, that like even if things go wrong, and no one likes to see things go wrong, right? No one likes that, right? So it's not about liking that. It's about knowing that on some level, you know, at the end of the day or at the end of whatever, right? Nothing really ever ends, right? But at the end of whatever, you're going to be okay, right? That you have that connection, you know, that feeling that I am, you know, and no one can take that away from me. Nothing can take that away from me. That doesn't mean you always get your way, of course not, right? It doesn't mean that you can shoot lasers and make whatever you want happen, right? That not necessarily, okay? You know, there's other forces at present in life, but it's a power, right? To feel that way, you know, and it doesn't mean you never be stressed. It doesn't mean you never strive, but it's a very real thing, you know. I mean, I just know for myself, right? Going from a place where I didn't have that to a place where I do have that has been an absolutely amazing journey. I feel so grateful for that, you know. So last week's class, and this kind of takes me back a little bit, right? Last week's class, we talked about gratitude and desire, you know. These things are all connected, right? Because gratitude is like the past, what you've received, right? Desire is like what you're moving toward, you know. So that feeling of a home is like the container that, you know, allows you to hold all this, right? Um, a place where you go to assimilate, right? To draw out the lessons from your adventures, right? To, you know, a lot of life is about growth, right? But in order to grow, we need oftentimes, right? We need a vessel, you know. A tree is not going to grow. It's not going to grow well if it doesn't have the right environment, if it doesn't have the right soil, right? So we're looking for that, like, what is going to give us that sense, right? What is going to be the right vessel for us, the right environment for us to allow us to take in life's experiences and turn them into something beautiful, right? I mean, that's what we're doing here, right? I mean, we're the purpose of all this is what we become, right? And we have a tremendous longing to become, to become who we really are. We have a sense of our qualities on an inner level, on a soul and spirit level, and we long to unfold them, right? So, to do that, we need support, right? We need, just like a tree can't grow on a rock, right? It needs some soil, it needs some water, it needs some sunlight. So we're just tuning into that now. What is that for you, you know? And how can you tune into it and be conscious of the way that you are experiencing that and receiving that right now? And even, okay, having, if maybe you got a sense of that, right, in our meditation, we'll do another meditation shortly. Um, if you got even the barest glimmer of that, you might say to yourself, wow, that's within me, right? That's within me all the time. What could I use that for? It's a tool in my toolbox. It's a power that I have, right? And it's something that we need, right? Because we all feel exhausted, overwhelmed, put upon, set upon, all this stuff, right? Um, and we need that sense of like, what recharges us, okay? So imagine if you could do that in um, by breathing, right? By going within, by through meditation. That's what we're, or at least that's what that's my interest in all of this. I don't know. I'm not sure why you guys are here, but I hope you're getting something from it, of course. So let's do it. Another meditation then. All right. At this time, I want to work with the holding of the breath to really get that feeling of that inner stillness. All right. So once again, take your nice upright meditation posture. Feel that you are being lifted as if from above by a string from the very top of your head. And feel your weight settling into your sits bones. Feel your spine come into alignment. Feel your head in alignment with your spine so that you're not leaning too far forward, not too far back, not to one side or the other. Nice neutral posture. Chest is open. The shoulders are in line. And you tune into your breathing. So once again, we are working on making the breath deep and slow so that as you breathe in, your belly expands, and as you breathe out, your belly contracts. And then working on making the breath full, making the breath rhythmic, making the breath heart-centered. So the full breath, once again, means you are engaging your abdominal muscles much more than you normally do with your breathing. Really squeezing out all of the breath as you exhale. Bringing your belly button towards your spine, contracting, squeezing out all the breath. And then on the inhalation, you're controlling the abdominal muscles, not letting the breath rush right in, but letting it come in in an even, smooth fashion. So first opening the belly, allowing the belly to expand, and then continuing on with the breathing into your rib cage and your chest and your upper chest, completing the inhalation and taking a much, much bigger breath than you normally take, many times larger, but also much slower than what you're used to. And when you get this down, it's just unbelievably powerful and invigorating. And it's invigorating in a very subtle fashion, like jumping in cold water is invigorating, right? But you feel that all at once. This is something where it just builds and builds. So I hope you experience that. If this is new to you, you might be experiencing it as a struggle. And that's okay too, right? It's going to be a struggle, like I said. But it's a beautiful struggle. It's a worthwhile struggle. And you tune into your heartbeat. So same number of beats on the inhalation as on the exhalation. And if you're not feeling your heartbeat, then maybe you put your hand on your chest. Maybe even both hands, right? There's something very powerful about putting your hands on your chest that directs your attention and helps you tune in to that feeling of the heartbeat. If that's not working well, you can use your fingertips, like I said, maybe even the fingertips of both hands, just pressing lightly on your sternum. And we also want to tune into the energy of the breath. So as you breathe in, you're receiving energy, and as you breathe out, you're giving energy. You are expanding your energy. You are filling the space with your heart's unique energy. And maybe just think to yourself this phrase, I'm home. I have come home. I have come home to my heart. All right, so now we want to continue to work with the breath, and we want to work with a holding of the breath now. So, heart rhythm meditation, right, this comes out of Sufism. We're interested in exploring the fullness. Okay, so we want to work with holding the breath only after we've breathed all the way in. Okay, so breathe in and then just hold the breath, retain the breath. And as you hold the breath, you might find that your heartbeat becomes a lot more prominent. Right? So as you hold the breath, feel your heartbeat. Now, holding the breath gives you a sense of stillness. Now, I'm going to continue talking about holding the breath, but that doesn't mean you have to keep holding it. You just hold it for as long as feels right for you, okay? And then you go back to breathing rhythmically, okay? Breathe out, same number of heartbeats as you breathe in, all right? And then you're going to hold the breath. And if you're breathing out for 8 beats and then breathing in for 8 beats, maybe you try holding the breath the same number of beats as you were breathing out and breathing in, right? So breathe out for 8, breathe in for 8, hold for 8. All right. Now I know this is a lot. This is a lot to keep track of right now. You're having to focus on the breath in these 3 different ways, right? How long is the exhalation? How long is the inhalation? How long is the holding? It's a lot, right? If you're struggling with the length of time and whatever, you just breathe as rhythmically as you can and hold your breath for whatever feels comfortable to you. All right. What's powerful about holding the breath on the full inhalation is you are holding, again, breath is air and breath is also energy. So when we think about the energy part of it, when you breathe in all the way and then hold it, you are holding energy within yourself. And that energy builds up. Holding energy allows you to get better at holding energy. And that's a remarkable skill. That's a remarkable power. So as you breathe in and then as you hold, just feel that, right? And feel how holding is a struggle. Holding your breath is a struggle. Um, that's okay. But tune into the energy part of that. What does it feel like to hold energy within you? And of course, because our meditation here is focused on the heart, focused on your heart, right? As you breathe in, your heart is filling with energy. As you hold, you are holding that energy within your heart, within the center of your being, within that which holds all that you love, all that you value, all that you are. What a wonderful feeling it is to just hold that power, that vitality, that energy within yourself. Just like in the way that that sense of home holds us, gives us that feeling that everything is all right. Everything will be all right. It's a feeling no one can take from us. No matter what comes, we are connected. No matter what happens externally, your spirit is whole. Your spirit is eternal. Your spirit is one with all that is. As you breathe out, I'd like you to focus on those who you love, those who you feel connected to. When I read these responses to my question, what makes you feel at home? So many people mention the people and the animals that they love. How wonderful! What a reality that speaks to. That it is our connections with other beings that give us that sense of home. So as you breathe out, breathe into those connections, feel those connections. Now, maybe you've lost somebody that you love, but what's amazing is that that love is still there. That connection is still there. Breathe into that connection, even if it carries with it sadness. That's okay. How wonderful it is to care for somebody so much that you feel so sad at their absence, that you feel such longing for them. What a gift that is, to feel that alive in your heart. Breathe in and breathe that feeling into your heart. Let it penetrate to every cell of your being. Hold your breath and allow that to sink in. Be with it in the stillness, because when you hold your breath, your body is far more still. Your spirit can still. as well. Your spirit can absorb this on a very deep level. And as you breathe out, connect ever more deeply with the ones you love. They're with us always. Our love and affection and connection does not end, no matter what the external circumstances are. No matter if someone has passed away or passed beyond our circle. It doesn't change the feeling in our heart. Remember, your heart contains your soul, contains your spirit. And your soul and your spirit are infinite and perfect and eternal. That is who you really are. And every time you breathe into your heart, you're exploring and living in that reality. And it's my honor to be there with you. So when you're ready, you can open your eyes and end our meditation there. I hope you got some of that feeling of what is home. You know, I could feel the vibe. I think we created a really beautiful vibe together tonight. So, you know, practice that, right? Practice these things. And if there's a way that I can help, if there's a question you have, please drop me a comment, message me on Twitter. And if you'd like to support the show, the link to the Patreon is there. So we're looks like we're pretty much out of time here. Thank you so much for meditating with me tonight, and hope you all have a really wonderful rest of your evening. I'll be back next week. Namaste.